cold wind howled through the empty streets as a young boy stumbled upon something that would change his life forever. Among the shadows of an abandoned alley, faint cries pierced the silence. It was a baby, alone, fragile, and clinging to life. The boy, homeless and battling his own struggles, faced an impossible choice. No one could believe what he did to that infant. Before we dive into this gripping story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from and what you would do in Jack's place. Why did his actions leave doctors in tears? Stay with us as we reveal the heartwarming journey of a boy who proved that heroes come in all forms. Jack was only 14, but life had already dealt him a rough hand. Living on the streets after losing his parents in a tragic accident, he'd learned to survive by scavenging for food and finding shelter wherever he could. The bustling city seemed indifferent to his plight. People passed by without a second glance. But Jack had a kind heart, one that hadn't been hardened by his circumstances. It was late one winter night when Jack's story began to change. As he sought refuge from the freezing cold, he wandered into a dimly lit alley behind a row of shuttered shops. The sharp smell of garbage and the distant hum of traffic filled the air. He pulled his tattered jacket tighter around him, bracing against the wind. Then he heard it. A sound so faint that he almost dismissed it as a stray cat. But there it was again, a soft, desperate cry. Jack's heart pounded as he followed the sound to a pile of discarded boxes. Beneath the rubble lay a baby, wrapped in a thin, dirty blanket, her tiny face red from the cold. "Who could do this?" Jack whispered, his breath visible in the icy air. His hands trembled as he reached for the baby, her cries weakening. In that moment, Jack's own hardships seemed to fade away. He knew he couldn't walk away. This was a life he had to protect. Jack carefully picked up the baby, her small body trembling in his arms. The weight of the situation pressed down on him. Where could he take her? Who would help a homeless boy with no money, no family, and no place to call home? The night was bitterly cold, and Jack knew the baby wouldn't survive without warmth. He removed his own threadbare jacket and wrapped it around her tiny form. Her cries softened slightly, but her breathing remained shallow. "You're going to be okay," he whispered, trying to convince himself as much as her. Jack's first thought was to find a hospital, but the nearest one was miles away. His second thought was to seek help from strangers, but experience had taught him that people rarely stopped to listen to a boy like him. Still, he couldn't give up. The baby's life depended on him. As he walked through the deserted streets, Jack knocked on the doors of several houses, but no one answered. At one point, a man shouted through a closed window, "Go away, kid!" Jack's heart sank, but he pressed on. Finally, he reached a 24-hour convenience store. The warm glow of the lights felt like a beacon of hope. Jack stepped inside, cradling the baby. The cashier, an older man with kind eyes, looked up in surprise. "Sir, please, I need help. I found this baby in the alley. She's freezing," Jack pleaded, his voice shaking. The cashier hesitated, scanning Jack's disheveled appearance, but when he saw the baby's frail condition, his expression softened. "Wait here," he said, grabbing his phone. Moments later, he called an ambulance. Jack waited anxiously, rocking the baby gently to keep her calm. The minutes felt like hours until the wail of sirens pierced the quiet night. Paramedics rushed in, their faces tense as they took the baby from Jack's arms. "Is she going to be okay?" Jack asked, his voice barely audible. One of the paramedics gave him a reassuring nod. "You did the right thing, kid. You might have saved her life." At the hospital, Jack stayed in the waiting room, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. Despite the nurse's assurances, worry gnawed at him. He couldn't shake the image of the baby's pale face and fragile body. After what felt like an eternity, a doctor approached. Her face was a mixture of relief and amazement. "She's stable now, thanks to you. If you hadn't brought her in, she might not have made it through the night." Jack's eyes filled with tears. "Can I see her?" he asked hesitantly. The doctor led him to the neonatal ward, where the baby lay in an incubator, tiny tubes attached to her. The sight broke Jack's heart, but seeing her safe brought him a sense of peace. Word of Jack's actions spread quickly among the hospital staff. Nurses and doctors marveled at his bravery. "A homeless boy saved her? That's incredible," one nurse whispered to another. Jack's story reached the ears of a local journalist, who wrote an article about his heroic act. Soon, donations poured in for both the baby and Jack. People offered clothes, food, and even temporary shelter. One day, as Jack sat by the baby's side, a nurse approached him with a warm smile. "We've been trying to track down her family, but there's no record of her anywhere. She might end up in the foster system." Jack's chest tightened. The thought of the baby being alone in the world just as he was filled him with a deep sadness. "Is there any way I can stay in her life?" he asked. Days turned into weeks, and the bond between Jack and the baby grew stronger. He named her Lily, after a flower his mother used to love. Despite his own hardships, Jack found solace in caring for her, visiting the hospital every day and learning everything he could about her medical needs. Then a twist shocked everyone. The results of Lily's medical tests revealed she was born prematurely and exposed to harmful substances. The doctors were amazed she had survived as long as she did. One evening, as Jack sat with Lily, the head doctor entered the room, his eyes misty. "Jack, your actions didn't just save her life. You've inspired everyone here. We've started a fund in your name to help children like Lily. And there's something else." Jack looked up, confused. The doctor smiled. "A family has come forward, willing to foster both you and Lily. They heard your story and want to give you both a chance at a better life." Tears streamed down Jack's face. For the first time in years, he felt hope. Months later, Jack and Lily were thriving in their new home. The family who took them in treated them with love and kindness, giving Jack the stability he'd never had before. Lily grew stronger every day, her laughter filling the house with joy. Jack's story didn't end there. Inspired by his journey, he began volunteering at shelters and hospitals, sharing his experience to encourage others to help those in need. His courage had sparked a movement, reminding people that even in the darkest moments, a single act of kindness can change everything. Looking back, Jack realized that finding Lily wasn't just about saving her life. She had saved his too. If this story moves you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspirational content. Remember, kindness has the power to transform lives. How can you make a difference in someone's life today? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let's spread hope together. Screen Reader Noid.